Hello and welcome to the Lund University International Podcast. On the show, we aim to give you a taste of what international student life at Lund is like, as we speak to current students, alumni, teachers, and many more special guests. My name is Tim Parker, and I'm an International Communications Officer here at Lund University. Today, we're going to be talking about the journey from student to staff here at Lund University, as well as discussing everything in between. So I have a very special guest in the studio today. Philipp, nice to meet you.
Hey Tim, nice to meet you. I've been listening to a few of the previous episodes and I like them a lot. So I'm happy to be here on the podcast. Thanks for the invite.
Happy to hear it. And Philipp, you started off as an international student here at Lund University. So could you fill us in on your background and what you've studied here?
Exactly. I studied in Germany before and I wanted to study environmental science. And here at Lund University, environmental science is a very broad and interdisciplinary study. So that I think was really catching my attention, which then made me apply for this program. It's called LUMES, but actually it stands for the International Master's Program in Environmental Studies and Sustainability Science. It's a nice program and very international, and I think that's one of the things that attracted me most to this program and to Lund University, and ultimately also made me stay here, I think.
Fantastic. And I believe I would be correct in saying that you wouldn't be the only German student at LUXIS. Is that correct?
Exactly, yes. And also I think my batch was the largest batch since it was during the pandemic. We had, I think, more than 75 students. As many got accepted, just not like out of the uncertainty of how many students will actually come to Lund and study. So this was a very big batch, and many Germans also studying here. I think Lund University and studying in Sweden is very popular.
Yes, exactly. I know for a fact that of the 130 different nationalities that are represented on campus, that German students make up one of the largest.
Oh, wow.
So it's a nice relationship we have with our friends down in Germany.
Yes, I think the university systems are similar and we can adapt easily to studying here. And I think or at least from my experience, I really enjoyed the approach that the Swedish system at the university has when focusing a lot on working together on group works and presentations and discussions. So I think that was something really easy for us, German students being used to German university system to be adapted here in Lund.
Nice. That's good to hear. And just remind me again exactly when you graduated from LUXIS?
I graduated now in January. It took me a little longer to finish my master thesis. I had some research and some interviews that I conducted and a little accident. But now everything is good, and I'm happy that I finished the master thesis. And now I'm happy that I got a job here actually at the university. So I'm happy to stay.
That's fantastic to hear. So where are you working now at the university?
Now I'm working at the IIIEE, here at Lund University. Actually just closed down the road. It's called the International Institute for Industrial Environmental Economics, but we just like to call it the INSTI, or IIIEE.
Okay.
And I'm there as a research assistant working on circular economy, especially right to repair, but also on podcasts and a MOOC, a massive open online courses, another acronym that is easy to mix up. So I'm working on one of those courses now as well.
Fantastic. That's great to hear. So you obviously like Lund enough to stick around.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, there's a lot to dig into, but I think maybe we can go back to your master's degree if you want to first maybe shed some light on perhaps your thesis or how you found the program, and then we can discuss a little bit more about how that translated across into your work now.
Mm-hmm. So as I said before, I was really attracted to Lund University for being one of the oldest universities in Sweden in such a small, relatively small, beautiful city. As for a master's, I was looking for a medium or smaller size city to really enjoy having quick connections, meeting people and becoming easier friends as opposed to studying in Paris or Barcelona or Berlin or something like that. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the really attractive aspects of Lund. But then more specifically, the program at Luxus caught my attention as it brings in together many different disciplines and international backgrounds into one program. So it creates a really diverse and good atmosphere for studying and exchanging thoughts on how to solve one of the biggest crises I would say we have, climate change. So that's why what brought me here to Lund, and then I liked it and enjoyed it a lot. I wrote my master thesis about Malmö's approach to becoming more climate friendly in regards to mobility or urban mobility, and with a niche and concept idea of mobility hubs. So a network approach to different forms of mobility within Malmö. And that I really liked how Malmö as a city and similarly Lund also both try to find solutions to become more sustainable through approaching citizens and diverse groups and audiences, getting their feedback, such in Malmö, for example. So that's one of the reasons that I thought, oh, this is really interesting topic, but also interesting environment to continue working and looking for jobs. I was looking even in the option of working with the municipalities. But for that, of course, I need to improve my Swedish. So now I'm very happy that I found a very interesting job in English as at the university as a research assistant, which also enables me to keep learning Swedish.
That's fascinating. And yeah, for those listeners out there that haven't been to Sweden before, Malmö is about a 10-15 minute train ride away from Lund. And many students and staff choose to live in Malmö just because it's a little bit bigger, a little bit more going on, a little bit more diverse. Lund's also, of course, a fantastic place to live as well. And then, after completing your research, you moved on to work at the INSTI, as you called it before.
Exactly.
And so what exactly are you working with there?
There I'm on a research project on right to repair. So right to repair is a movement and an approach towards more repairable products. So it ranges from design to the accessibility of repair information to legislation. And the EU Commission proposed a directive on this. And within the research we're conducting, we're analyzing the different positions around it as we want to understand who is supporting this, in which ways is it affecting us consumers, as it should enable us consumers to have better access to repairable electronics, as we want to prolong the life of electronics and reduce the amount of e-waste we have. So I think this is a really interesting and beautiful example of where sustainability and policy reach or together create something more practical. And so I'm really interested in this research, and I really enjoy the working atmosphere at the Institute. And then on the other hand, I also have the task of continuing with the podcast, advancing sustainable solutions from the Institute as well, and where we focus a lot on promoting and discussing the impact of the research that we're doing and the different researchers and their approaches. So I think that's really interesting as well. And then another idea and part of my job is to create a course on public circular procurement, another example of actionable research. So to help the municipalities in Sweden to be able to procure more circular and more sustainable in a way. And that's what I really like about the Institute, where there's a very practical approach to sustainability and research and combining them together actually.
Wow, that's you've got a lot to keep you busy there, and a lot of meaningful projects as well, I would say. And I mean, I'm just thinking for our listeners out there, you've studied at one sustainability focused faculty, and now you're working at another. So did you find that you're approaching sustainability challenges from a different perspective, or what's the relationship there?
I think so. So I think here, Lund University, as also discussed in previous episodes, is I think ranked 12th most sustainable university in the world.
That's right.
And I do think we have very good, actually cutting edge research here in regards to sustainability throughout the university and throughout the different institutes and departments. So I think it's really interesting to mix and combine and reflect on one department's approach to another. And that's also what I'm doing now. So for me, at least the approach at Luxus was more on research and science. And at the INSTI, I would argue, at least from my experience, and which is half a year now, I think there it goes more into actually finding policy, understanding policy, supporting businesses towards more sustainable practices, and a little bit more practice oriented, at least from my perspective. So that's what I really like to compare these perspectives of the two different departments, and to get insight into similar topics and also in the collaboration. So there's also collaboration, research collaboration between the two departments or institutes, all within the realms of the university. So I think it's good to compare and to see different perspectives and to acknowledge them and take the best out of both, I would argue.
All right, so it sounds like you're a living, breathing example of experiencing those different perspectives. And on that note, I'd be really interested to hear about the difference you've experienced from being a student and then becoming a staff, because that is quite a common path for our international students. Like many of them, like yourself, really enjoy living and studying in Lund, and they choose to stay here as researchers or administrators. So how's that experience for you?
Well, I think the first main difference was that now I need to pay more for Skånetrafiken, the local trains here. But on the other hand, now I get a salary also, so there's some difference. But it's really nice to continue staying here. Some of my friends and some of my fellow batch mates, they still stay here around Lund or Malmö, so it's still nice to have some people here. On the other hand, I can still go to like Kalmar Nation, for example, for lunch. But I think it changed a little bit. I think before I was more engaged with the student community, volunteering more with UPF, for example, as we had many people here talking about UPF before, the Association for Foreign Affairs. Or then also the UN nation in Lund. So there are different associations here in Lund where I was more active before, as now I think I shifted a little bit my focus. But I really enjoy still staying here in Lund. And even though it changes a little bit, I think as a student you go more out to the nations, to to parties. And I think that's something that shifted a little bit. Now working more and having more stricter schedules than as a student, where you can or you have to be disciplined on your own. And now I think the workload and the working hours, they help to be more disciplined in that way, I would argue. So there's some changes here, while Lund is still as beautiful as always.
Nice. That's really good to hear. And obviously, when you're studying an international program, it's a very international experience. Everyone knows that. We talk about it a lot on this pod. We have students from 130 different countries here on campus. But when you're working as an international staff, do you still get the feeling like Lund is welcoming to international staff and it's an engaged international community?
I think so. I think, well, Lund University for sure, and then the institute even more, I guess, at least from my judgment, since the institute is just very opening and very international with the 2 international master programs, and lots of international students at the INSTI. It's a very welcoming and open atmosphere there. Also, I think in Lund in general, as Lund is so open and used to having many different international people here, I think it's really welcoming feeling, even when you're not a student anymore. And now also Kulturnatten, just the other day, the festival here in Lund where museums are open and cultural events and activities are throughout the town. There's so much going on. There's so much international audiences and people. So it's really a nice atmosphere, actually. And it is very, very welcoming. And on the other hand, I think that's an issue, at least for me, since I don't learn as quick as I would like to learn Swedish, since everybody's actually so fluent in English, or there are so many internationals, and the Swedes that you meet, they're sweet and are happy to talk to you in English even. So that reduces my learning curve for Swedish. But I think that's a disadvantage that is actually no disadvantage. It's actually beautiful.
A very Lund type of problem to have.
Yes, I think so.
And I think any international student will experience that at some point. So it's good, or staff even, good that you brought it up. So Swedes speak English perfectly. So you kind of have to push through and work on the Swedish.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you taking any classes right now?
I'm doing the SFE class,
Yeah.
and that's also really nice to meet more internationals. Many of them who also studied here at the university before and now are looking for jobs. And then taking SFE course is really helpful, as this is a course paid by Lund Kommun, so you don't have to pay for it. And you get a time to finish the course. So I think that's a really good example of where you meet, or like what you could do after finishing here to study, when then deciding to stay and realizing that then Swedish might be even more relevant than before during student life. Yes.
Nice to hear. But for the most part, of course, you studied in English, you wrote your thesis in English, and now you're working your day-to-day life. Do you mostly speak English at the institute?
Yes, I think I could speak more Swedish, I think. I have many coworkers and colleagues who are Swedes. So I think I could speak with them in English or in Swedish. But for now, since my Swedish is not as good as their English, it's easier for us to speak in English. But yes,
Nice.
for most of it, it's just in English.
Well, and I mean, if you're going to be working in any kind of international environment, English will be the most common language that's going to be used here at Lund University. And I guess, for example, the online course that you're developing, that's in English, right?
On one hand, yes, as it is an open online course for everyone. But on the other hand, we are tasked to do this for the Swedish government, actually. So they want these courses to be done for their employers. So there's a little bit of a different idea to have the Swedish as a main focus while making it accessible for all other nations and all other languages. So I think it will be both Swedish and English.
Perfect. Well, that's good as well. And the course, could you tell us a little bit more about it?
The course is a living example, I would argue, for how to make Lund's research more accessible for people around the world through offering these online classes, which are for free. You can take them in your own pace. And if you want, at the end, you can apply for the certificate, I think, when you finish all the exams and exercises. But if you don't need the certificate, you can just go through the course, read whatever parts interest you, and then be done with that. So that's really a nice flexibility of having access to world-class research while not having to pay for it, not having to move to Lund, even though I think that you're missing out if you don't come here. Even though acknowledging it's not possible for everyone to come, especially regarding the numbers of course scores that we have. But then this course that I'm doing, the idea is to help practitioners to become more circular in the procurement that they're doing.
Fantastic. That's great. And I'm just wondering any idea on the release date?
Probably next summer, I would guess, more or less.
Okay, so our listeners can hold on for a little bit before
But we have a few now. There was a recent MOOC that we collaborated together with WWF on cities. So there are many different MOOCs, actually. I think we have 6 or 7 different MOOCs, and with many different topics, ranging from circular economy to procurement now in the future, hopefully. Yes.
Well, thanks so much for telling us about those courses. And I'm just wondering if there's any other aspects of life in Lund as an international student or staff that you want to share that you've experienced.
Well, I really like playing water polo, and there I have some students, they're in my team. We're a mix of students, exchange students, international students, Swedish students, but also staff from the university, or people employed at different jobs, not even related to the university, even though that's a little bit rare in Lund. And that's really nice to mix also with just different people and play water polo. So that's really cool here at Högewall, just down the road. That's another advantage here of living at Lund. You can cycle or walk to any place you want to go. And then I also participate at the food cooperative. I think Fabio talked about it a little bit at Stenkrossen, which is another, like there's so many nice aspects to Lund actually. So Stenkrossen is a place offered by Lund municipality to different organizations who can apply for some space there without having to pay rent. And Stenkrossen then has many different organizations there, and the food cooperative is one of them where we want to get local produced organic food here in Skåne. So everything is close by to Lund. It's harvested and produced. And we want to extend the range of people who can have access to these kind of produces at the fair price. So we don't have there's no idea for us as an organization to make extra profit. So we're all volunteers. And there are many students, some volunteers who volunteer, but also other people, also some university professors, some people from other parts of the university, some researchers. And I think that's really nice to mix and to have a diversity of people meeting there, getting good produces, even though it's very French. How you say it? There are many French-speaking people. I guess they all miss their good food. So I think that's one of the ways to get some good food here in Sweden.
Nice, and a good way to meet French people as well.
Of course, yes.
Nice. Oh yeah, that's fantastic to hear. So I mean, you've been studying and now working with sustainability, and you're also practicing living in a circular way or in a more sustainable way in your everyday life as well.
And also with Circle Center, but there was a whole episode about it. But, that's really cool, and I like to borrow some items there, of course.
Nice.
Or Fritidsbanken, which is similar but organized by the Lunds Kommun.
Perfect. Yes, actually, good that you mentioned that as well. We should get them in here to talk to them.
Oh, they're really cool, yes.
Nice.
Yes.
And I believe you're also working, as you mentioned, with a podcast at the INSTI as well.
Exactly. We have 3 podcasts at the Institute. One is run by students on their own initiative, Sustainably Speaking Beyond the Aula, that just launched half a year ago, I think I would say, to get a better insight into student perspectives at the Institute, and also talk to alumni on their personal experiences. And then we have Advancing Sustainable Solutions, a longer podcast format that we launched in 2018. And there the focus is more on research itself and research and sustainability related topics, and really exploring the different research that is going on at the Institute. And then there is Talking Transformations, T2 podcast, where it's more about very short, like a short format of quick discussions, such as when there's a big conference, for example, to meet up, have a short exchange and record it. So a more loose approach to the podcast. And I think these formats and the diversity of podcasts are really, really beautiful. That's also why I think a podcast like this one is really nice to get different perspectives together, get different people here, and on a different medium also. Even though we can always combine it also with social media and other forms, but I think listening to someone and telling their experience in this form you can't have anywhere else. So that's really cool to have.
Nice, and perhaps a very good opportunity for a future international student who's sitting at home somewhere in the world, who's thinking about studying environmental management and policy or sustainability science here at Lund. They can listen to these pods and start to come into the mind frame of what it's like to be a Lund student and researcher.
Exactly, and I think these are really good examples of getting some insights into different parts of the university that you don't get through the online course catalogs or the syllabus that you have. So I think these are different perspectives actually into it, and I think it's easier than reading a whole paper. More,
the truth comes out.
Yes.
A lot more relaxed. I mean, it's really nice to do if you're just washing the dishes or commuting as well.
Exactly, yes.
And I guess you're going to hear a wide variety of accents on those podcasts as well.
Yes, there's a very international group. And Advancing Sustainable Solutions had a little pause, but now we are producing some new episodes again. The next one will be on women in power, literally in the energy sector.
Okay.
A very important and good topic of research that we're doing there. And we'll discuss more about this in the upcoming episode on sustainable solutions, advancing sustainable solutions.
Nice. Now I think I'm going to listen to those pods myself.
Cool, I hope so, yes. We're happy to grow with more listeners and get feedback. We're always happy to get more feedback as we have so many different listeners from all the world.
And we've been talking a lot about different faculties and departments today. So for anyone out there listening, Lund University website is very detailed, very robust. So if anyone wants to go in and find out more about LUMES or the Institute, I really encourage people to go onto our web and take a look there, because we've been talking about quite a lot of different aspects today.
Exactly. Yeah. And then Luxus and the IIIEE, we both also have our own websites. And I think on LinkedIn also, it's where we post most. Or for the Insta also on Facebook. So just like hit up IIIEE, and then there you'll find some additional photos maybe, or stories and alumni to talk to. So I think that's always good to do that before applying for a position here or a study program, which is also what I did when coming here to LUMES. First being in contact with alumni who gave me their opinions and reviews on the study program, and I think that's really nice to get a different perspective or like additional perspectives on the university and the study programs that they offer.
Nice, that's great. And Philip, I think that's probably about time for today. Did you have any parting thoughts to any future students, any advice or any further tips based on your journey from student to staff?
Well, I think if you can, reach out to people living here in Lund, reach out to people studying here in Lund, to some alumni, see whether you like living in Lund through these experiences, and just try it out if you can, and reach out. Yes.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming in today. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks so much, Tim. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Lund University International Podcast. If you're interested in learning more about Lund University, you can go to our website, lunduniversity.lu.se. You can also follow us on social media on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can also chat with our current students on UniBuddy. Don't forget to subscribe, and we look forward to bringing you a new episode very soon.